Hi, I'm Winter and... Wait, you hear that? The f***? Well, I guess I should let those explosions take their time, right? I guess in the meantime, I should play some of the games that aren't currently located in my closet, like, neither of these ones. I need a game that's easy, accessible, and recognizable. Something that Nintendo can't go 2 seconds without re-releasing. Something like... It's perfect. The year was 1985. Nintendo was on top in arcades with games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. And with success like what Nintendo was experiencing, they had to find a way to make sure you wouldn't forget how goddamn rich they were. The easiest solution? Home invasion. The Nintendo Entertainment System, NES if you're pro abbreviation, or the Famicom in Japan, was the first really successful home video game console following the video game industry's crash in 1983. A lot of the system's success was owed to the console being sold alongside Rob, a giant peripheral that was intended to not only allow the NES to be marketed as a toy, but also to make it look more sophisticated than consoles in the past. Like, yeah, sure, your old console had a controller, but did you get milk with it? Yes! The NES launched with all sorts of great games: tennis, golf, Wrecking Crew, Excitebike, but the most important one was by far Super Mario Bros., a sequel to the arcade game Mario Bros. And the first game in the Super Mario series. Super Mario Bros. Released in North America alongside the NES on October 18, 1985, as a launch title. The game sold insanely well, even more so when it became packaged with the NES alongside Duck Hunt on the same cartridge, and spawned one of the most popular series in the world. And more Mario games too. The game is incredibly popular to this day, with some of the world's least creative games and t-shirts featuring designs based on or inspired by the game, and Nintendo knows, trust me, they won't let us forget. I mean, the game's simple and fun. You run and you jump, and that's pretty much an apt description of the entire game if you ignore the turtles and mushrooms and kidnapping. You know, for as long as I've been alive, I've never actually beaten the entire game before. I did get close with the Virtual Console 3DS version, but I got pissed off at World 7 and gave up. So today's the day. Not only will I beat Mario 1, but I'll also take a look at all the Mario series on the NES. Today is the day I become cultured. Wow. Culture's never felt so underwhelming. Super Mario Bros. Is a super bare-bones platformer. Could you imagine if I actually meant that? What is there to say about the first Super Mario Bros? I can't just say, this is an incredibly simple platformer game when it's basically the first platformer. Story goes like this. Bowser kidnapped Princess Toadstool, the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario, the local plumber, and for some reason the only competent person in the kingdom, has to go rescue her. Incredible how they got away with leaving so many pages blank. This game is a series of obstacle courses that you, the player, have to help Mario through. If Mario dies, that blood is on your hands. Not again. Along the way, you'll have to face enemies like Goombas and Koopa Troopas, or the most terrible enemy of all, literally any body of water. I mean, there's just not much to say about this game. The game is relatively fair throughout most of its 30 to 45 minute runtime, and for as simple as it is, the levels are pretty fun. Except for the castle in World 7. Okay, look, how am I supposed to know the order I'm supposed to walk down these halls in? Sure, it's supposed to be a process of elimination sort of thing, but with the amount of possible combinations here, it just feels tedious. No wonder I quit back in the 3DS version. But anyways, once we skip all that stuff that I can't talk about and finally beat King Koopa at the end of the final castle, Princess Peach is rescued and... we present you a new quest. Imagine you rescue a kidnapping victim and they say, wow, thank you, could you do that again? So there is a new game plus of sorts. Goombas are replaced by buzzy beetles, and the level layouts are just overall a little more challenging. This would be a great addition to the game if there were save files at all, but there aren't, so this is just a weird novelty that I don't think anyone particularly cares about. And that's Mario 1. Look, I told you there wasn't really much to go over in this game, but I did finally beat the game for the first time, which means I'm officially cultured. Now to see if the explosions are done having their fun. And of course. Alright, look, I have enough time to talk about the other games in the series, but I'm not beating these ones. Following the success of the first Super Mario Bros. Game in both Japan and the USA, making a sequel was a no-brainer, but unfortunately, Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan had different ideas on what a sequel to the game should look like. Over here in the US, we got a reskin of a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic, except with Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, and Toad as playable characters, while in Japan, they got f***ed. Without Toad? Super Mario Bros. 2, or as it's called over here in the States, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, is the original sequel to Super Mario Bros. Who would have thought with a title like that? The game has a reputation for being incredibly difficult in comparison to the original game, with new mechanics like poison mushrooms, which look similar to normal super mushrooms, but they hurt Mario instead, and springs with the most wonky physics I have ever seen. I remember seeing old reviews of this game back when I was in middle school, with everyone saying this was the hardest game in the Mario series. I don't know, have they played Mario Teaches Typing? I don't personally think this game is that bad from what little I've played of it. It's definitely more challenging than the first game, that much is certain, but I feel like its difficulty has definitely been overblown. There's not anything from what I played that felt impossible, and hell, Nintendo even felt confident enough later on that they included these levels in Super Mario Bros. DX, the Game Boy remake of the original game. I think in the long run, it's a good thing this game stayed in Japan at first, though, and why is that? Super Mario Bros. 2 USA is one of the best things to happen to Mario in the West. You, I'm right! This game is definitely the least popular of the original trilogy here in the US, but I don't think that's warranted. Honestly, from what I've played, which really isn't a small amount, I think this game is better than Mario 1. The plot of this one is weird, which is a side effect of this game not originally involving Mario in any way. So Mario dreams of this world called Subcon, and while that is an excellent setup for a D's Nuts joke, I'm not joking about that. A voice tells Mario that he needs to help beat Wart, an evil frog who put a curse on Subcon and its people, so naturally Mario and friends decide to do just that. This game is so weird. To start, most of the mechanics from Mario 1 are gone. You still run and jump, sure, but stomping on enemies no longer damages them. You instead have to jump on their heads, pick them up, and throw them into other enemies. Alternatively, you can pick vegetables from the ground and throw those at enemies to kill them, or throw the enemies into pits. In a weird way, this gameplay loop feels more forgiving than the first game, and that is a good thing. Sure, Mario 1 wasn't unbearably hard, but Mario 2's unique gameplay gives this sort of sense of wonder, I guess. That's a weird word for it. To add to that, the game's setting and aesthetic is pretty cool. You'll see a lot of things straight out of fairy tales, like the Phantomask guarding keys and urns that chase you until you unlock a door or drop the key. These used to terrify me as a kid playing the remake of this game for Game Boy Advance. There's also magic carpets and potions that create doors, and the goal at the end of each level is a giant bird head. It's just really weird. There is also all sorts of new enemies like Shy Guys and Ninja and the canonically transgender Birdo, who Nintendo wants us all to forget about because of how poorly it was handled. The reason I said this game is so important to Mario over here in the West is because this is what inspired the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, a live-action cartoon hybrid starring Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells. This show not only inspired plenty of facts about Mario and Luigi that are true to this day, such as Luigi's entire personality and their origins as plumbers from Brooklyn, but also made it canon that Mario and Luigi have both met and helped Magic Johnson practice basketball.
Hey, Magic Johnson, how you doing, man?
Mario, Luigi, I'm really glad you guys are gonna help me practice.
Hey, Magic, what do you want to work on first? You hook shot? Huh?
The concept for this specific game is just so unique to the Mario series, and for that reason, it honestly might be my favorite. Anyway, time to go check in the closet again. You done in there yet? Of course not. Super Mario Bros. 3 is the third and final game in the original Super Mario Bros. Trilogy. God, they're so good at titling these! This game's plot doesn't matter because canonically this entire game is just a stage play. You can see how all the obstacles cast shadows and how certain platforms look like they're bolted onto the stage. It's a neat aesthetic. This game is a return to the original format of the Super Mario Bros. Series, linear, horizontal obstacle courses. However, this time there's a bit more to it. In the original game, everything was super simplistic. I mean, even the bushes were just recolored clouds. In Mario 3, everything has a distinct sprite, and there's more than 4 different level themes as well. On top of the normal land, water, caves, and castles, there's also new ghost houses and airships. There are new enemies like Boos and Big Berthas and the literal sun, as well as new bosses in the form of Boom Boom and some of the Koopalings. In fact, you don't actually fight King Koopa himself a single time in this game until the final boss. There are also new power-ups like the frog suit, which makes navigating land levels a pain in the ass in return for making water levels so much easier to move around in. The level design in this game is also actually notable. I mean, there's things about this game's level design past the first 2 levels that I remember. I can't say that about Mario 1, and I played through that whole game. Super Mario Bros. 3 is still widely seen as one of the best games in the Mario series, and absolutely one of the best games in the 2D Mario series. Anyway, I'm out of Mario games to talk about. One last closet check. Surely they're done by now. Seriously? Okay, fine, there's one more thing worth talking about. Super Mario All-Stars is a compilation of SNES remakes of all 4 NES Mario games, including both versions of Super Mario Bros. 2. It was released for the SNES and Wii. This version is weird for pretty much every game except for Mario 2 USA because the physics are different despite the level design being exactly the same. I also don't like the remix music, it sounds worse than the original in almost every instance in every game except for Mario 2 USA. Okay, that's all I can take. Those explosions better be done now. Well, it's about time. You know, I think it's always worth looking at where your favorite games came from, because now I know that despite everything, the main character of Super Mario Sunshine is an acquaintance of Magic Johnson.
Bye, guys. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, see you soon, Magic.
Not until you buy a bigger medicine cabinet.